What up, cuzzo?
What up, what up, what up, what up?
How you feel?
I'm good, man. All is well, man. Another day in the life. How you feeling?
Man, I feel great, man. I guess I should start introducing you, man. We got Jamel in the building. There we go.
Thank you, sir.
And we got
And
myself,
we got yourself, indeed.
Marco is in the building.
Mm-hmm.
Hey. Thank you. Thank you very much for the round of applause. Man, I'm feeling good, man. What about you?
Good, man. You know, it's Friday, man. We only know about this time, man. We get a little bit itchy and dicey because get to the weekend, we get to do the show. So yeah, man, I'm always excited around this time. You know, even more so.
Absolutely, man. I'm feeling a little extra special. You know what I'm saying? Finally got my hair cut, you feel me? You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You
Okay.
know, just a
Okay.
little bit, just I was deciding what I wanted to do, but yeah, finally got it done.
Right. Right.
Yes, sir. So man, let's jump right into it. Wait, where is it at? There we go.
Man, get
Stop
it,
that
get it
one.
together.
Stop that one. I'm gonna have to figure it out.
Get it together.
Uh I'm gonna have to get my glasses, you know what I'm saying? Because it said on the thing, but I'm kind of far away, so I can't see it.
Man.
But here we go. Things have happened.
As always, things will continue to happen.
Absolutely, man. So uh let's see. We got a topic that I kind of wanted to continue on as it relates to family court stuff and situations that people go through in their personal life. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about segregation. I know that's a topic that's kind of going on out there, and then we're going to talk about the black families as well. So they all kind of tie in together, you know. So I'm gonna hop right into it. I need to post this young lady's information because I did not do so, but I'm going to post her information so I could give her credit for this video. But anyway, let's get it started.
She was born January 2014. We mutually went and filed for child support October 2014. My daughter wasn't even a year old. At the time, I was young. He was young. We had just broke up. He was doing his thing. I was hurt and I was, going through things emotionally and having postpartum, and he was playing in my face. So I'm like, fuck it. Yeah, we can do that. Did that. And baby, I'm trying to tell y'all, we've been in the process for years trying to get this man off of child support. The courts keep denying. They keep denying our paperwork. So, he actually got a consultation from a lawyer this time to see like what is it, what are we missing, to get this court order dismissed. So, he got some tips and tricks or whatever from the lawyer. So today we went and got the stuff notarized again this morning to submit to the courts, and fingers crossed that they approve it and dismiss all this shit because it's just not necessary. Like I said, he's from day one been an active father. He's been there in her life and financially supported her. So it was just something that we did because we didn't want to deal with each other at the time. And we was like, fuck it, we can get the court to, put something in order for us so we ain't got to deal with each other. And, it was just a dumb decision because now it does affect our lives. It does affect um, his life as well, his business. He does trucking. So now, his driver's license could be, um, up for grabs and stuff like that. It's just a lot. It's a lot. I'm not trying to affect this man's life, like I said, because that we he does do what he needs to do for our child. I don't want to deal with the nigga. He keeps harassing me about the shit too. He's getting on my nerves. So I just want to be done, done with it. There was a time where I'm just like, fuck it. I've done what I needed to do. I'm not gonna keep worrying about it. You figure it out. But I'm like, let me not be selfish. Let me help get this stuff submitted, you know, so we can move on with our lives in peace. And it's just the courts. That's what I'm saying. These courts truly love to keep black men in the system. They really do. Because they are making it difficult to take him off of child support. It was easy filing child support. It was so easy. I'm talking about we had a court date like in weeks. They had a court date for us set in weeks. Went to court, got that order approved, and he was paying child support by like the next 2 weeks. I'm talking about trying to get him off has been irritating, like, and annoying. It's like, what the fuck? If I'm telling y'all for years I want this man off child support, have the proof that, you know, he's been helping out. It's just like, no, they want that nigga in the system. They don't want him to be able to move forward in life. But anywho, yeah, fingers crossed that this gets approved and they dismiss this shit. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not telling people who, you know, who's child's father is not in the picture or child's mother is not in the picture to not go along with child support, because it's there for a reason. But
Stop it right there, though. So I saw you shaking your head a little bit. What you got to say? What you got?
I mean, it just sounds like that they don't have a choice. So I mean, if you know, all the years, you know, from my experience, I was told it's on the mother. You know, the mother says, you know, yay or nay, whether you on child support or not. They can go in there and tomorrow take it off and then the next day put it back on, which I have experienced that too. You know, came to an understanding, you know, it's better to work together. And then, you know, later on, stop working together. And, you know, she, you know, was able to attach it back. So, you know, I'm still going through my own process with that. My kids are older; they're not in school, so at this point, I'm paying arrears, which I should be paying. You know, but
Right.
that's just at this point in time. So, just listening to some of the language, you know, talking about we've been telling them that I don't want them on child support and to take it off, and they won't do it. You got to start figuring out, well, why won't they do it? You know, if I'm telling you that as an individual, it's my right to have them on child support or not. Why won't you guys take them off? Yeah, I don't get that part or understand that part. So it's something else that they're missing. What it is, I don't know. Talking to a lawyer, unfortunately, is not going to help you because the lawyers do work for the courts. You know, they don't work for the people, even though you pay them. People don't know or understand that because you are what they consider wards of the state. So,
Right.
you know, they're going to go in there and spin it and twist it the way that's going to allow them to keep, um, you know, extorting money from the people pretty much is what they're doing. So, yeah, it's just unfortunately, you know, she gave the backstory and that's, you know, most people, you know, immature, young, not realizing the full blunt of the situation that you guys are in and not wanting to work together, you know, well enough to co-parent or, you know, parent the child together without having to bring someone else into it. I never really understood that mindset. If you lay down together, why do you need a third person to come in and handle your situation for you? You was mature enough to lay down with this person, you know, you should be mature enough to work with the individual. And that goes both ways, you know. At the end of the day, you're not going to agree on everything. You're not going to agree on most things, but what you should agree on is there's nobody better than me and you that could tell us what to do, how to take care of this child to raise, you know. So yeah,
Right.
that's why I shook my head because it's like, yeah, it sounds too familiar, unfamiliar because I don't understand why you can't get rid of something that I signed up for, you know, and in turn, you should be able to get rid of that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to mute. I don't hear the noise yet, but we'll play it by ear. Man. Yeah. Same sentiment. you know, and she said at the very beginning that it was emotional decision that was made because they didn't want to deal with each other anymore. And this is not something she said, but from experience, the other parent uses it as a tactic. They use it as a weapon against the other parent because that's all they have. You know, this is the conversation that's been talked about quite a bit in certain areas, you know, that I'm in and certain things that I listen to. You know, not just that situation, but you also have, I mean, it's similar, but you also have women who attach themselves to, excuse me, professional athletes and they target these guys. They see with multiple guys so they can get a retirement fund pretty much. And so, you know, it's a little different in both areas, but it's similar because it's used as a weapon against men. You know, and I don't necessarily believe in that. I mean, I do believe that there's a place for it. You know, she kind of mentioned it that if you know the parent is not taking care of the you know the child and you guys agreed on this, like okay, we made an agreement at the very beginning that we want to have kids, you know, then together and that's cool. But I mean, some people may not necessarily believe in this, but I believe that we should have equal rights when it comes to, you know, having a baby, right? Because she could say, you know what, I don't want to have this baby, and you could beg her to death not to get rid of it. And guess what she's gonna say? It's my body, it's my choice, right? We heard that all the time, right?
Mhm.
And so on the other side of that, you know, you can say, you know what, I don't think we're ready yet. I don't want to have this baby. And guess what she's gonna say? It's my body, it's my choice. And you don't have any say so, but you have all the responsibility. So I definitely believe things need to change. I definitely believe that people shouldn't be able to weaponize this thing against men. You know, and sometimes it happens to women, but it's 99% of the time it happens to men. And I don't think it's fair. But I mean, you know, it's something that we, you know, unfortunately, me and you know, from having conversations that we had to encounter, right? Some of these things, and what people don't realize is what's best for the kids is not just taking money. It's about spending time. It's about having memories. It's about teaching the children. It's about those type of things, not getting upset because we don't see eye to eye in certain things or we don't like each other anymore and hurting the child because that's at the end of the day what it does. It hurts the child indirectly. Well, no, it hurts I'm sorry, hurts the child directly because they may not encounter like the back and forth arguments, but childs could children could sense that type of thing. And they have to deal with the fallout too. And then you have sometimes I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but then sometimes you have the other parent talking bad about the other parent. And you have it and if they're solely with the child, a certain narrative is being, you know, given to the child and they don't hear the other side of the story. And so it hurts that relationship, you know, which is unfortunate. But I believe something should be definitely done about this because you have men who take care of their children, you know, from day one all the way until current, and you know they get the short end of the stick. You know, maybe I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. You know what? I'll tell it anyway. There's this girl that I know who knows the girl who basically every time she knows every time the kid's dad gets a raise, and every time she goes to the courts and asks for an increase, just because she can, and the court allows her to.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that the court benefits from this too, or the state benefits from this too. So I'll leave it at that, because I know I'm going all over the place. But did you have any? You want to jump in and say anything at all, Cause
Yeah, man. I just think that at the end of the day, with anything in life, I mean, people go back and reflect on what they did or how they did things and whether or not it was the right thing to do. A lot of times people don't go back and reflect, because I haven't heard anything or any apologies coming my way. And not to say that I am due any apologies, but just understanding how people think and how people can have different realizations after they've gone through the process of making a mistake. A lot of times people don't have any type of reconciliation because they don't go back and make that connection to have that conversation. And, maybe they don't need to. Maybe it's not a thing that they have to do in order for them to move forward. But I think if people did that more often, I think there would be a higher level of, or a better level of mental health, and stability in people. If we had those connections and those conversations, because, a lot of times people just, feel like the person, doesn't care or didn't care, and that can kind of sit with somebody for the rest of their life. And even though it may not be accepting or affecting their lives is the word I was trying to use, in a way that, it can be directly affecting your life every day, but you just kind of look at it like, dang, this individual, for whatever reason, you guys were good in the moment for a very long time at the moment. And then once things got, bad between the adults, then, you had to kind of trickleate that down to the child,
right.
It's kind of like a struggle back and forth of, who has the upper hand, who has the control. A guy can be just doing what he's already been doing, always been doing, the same person, but for whatever reason, in a woman's mind, they can think of the worst case scenarios. You could have not done anything close to what they've been thinking about, but just in case, because they thought about it, they're going to make sure, or because their friend said something to them, because a family member said something to them, now they have this interpretation of you that's not even, within your character.
Right.
So, just looking at it from that standpoint, and, I would encourage individuals to, have a more of a mindset like this young lady, and, go back and, kind of revisit these situations, if you feel like it's going to help the relationship with you and the father, or you and the mother,
But
and
I don't
cohesively
think.
with you
I'm
and
sorry to hop in, but
the
I don't
child.
think they take the time to think about that. She's like rare in this case. You know what I mean?
Right.
Most
That's what I'm
women
saying.
they don't take accountability. They don't believe they did anything wrong. They believe they did everything right.
Well, in this case, it's not even about wrong or right. It's just a case about, how you affected the other person, truly, and not something that's going to be hypothetically or in your head, but this is physically going through the process of us both having an experience and us communicating through that process of your part and my part, and what happened really happened and what didn't happen, what happened in your head and what happened in my head. 9 times out of 10, the things that happen in our heads don't really happen. So if we have a conversation and someone's thinking a certain way, but still going through the situation with the individual, it could be two different things happening based on how someone is thinking. And that can be a form of mental health, I think.
Right. But
There's some mental
I
stability.
agree with you about that point, because as people, they like to put all these terms, men are from Venus and women are from Mars, or vice versa, with whatever it is. I don't know what it is because I don't care to buy into that stuff. But I would say there's a right and a wrong, because not growing enough to take responsibility for the part that you played is not cool, right? We both played a part in it. What part did you play, and what could you have done better or different, or what can you do moving forward better, right? You may not have addressed the situation. You may have thought she meant this when she said that, and vice versa, but the child is the most important thing now. So we need to take time and take a look at ourselves. Like, what part did I play in this? What could I have done better? And then address that. All right, maybe I didn't ask enough questions, or maybe I didn't ask the question that I needed to ask to get an understanding of what was going on or what the thought process was. And I know wrong is deemed as a bad word, but yeah, I would say that there was some wrong done on both ends. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, even to go further, I tell people to stop looking at it from that type of lens. It's either this or that. It's more of what's fair. You know, are we protecting ourselves and the child in the situation by treating one another as we've treated one another? So people start to kind of take, all right, if we're going to be emotional, let's take those feelings into consideration and think about the people that we love. It's the child. Forget about the individual. Of course, you guys are not together, so you don't feel about me that way. I don't feel about you that way. What about the child? How do you want your child to see you treating their dad, or how do you want your child to see you treating their mom? How do you want that example to kind of exist in their brain? How is that going to manifest as they become a young adult, moving into their adulthood?
Right.
So we start to think more of those terms. I think we'll have more individuals like this young lady having these realizations and being able to have the courage to voice it, because sometimes people don't have the courage to voice it because they feel like, okay, if I say this, then, I may get taken advantage of. Or if I say this, and they just might feel like they got the upper hand. It's not about that. It's about everyone having growth in the situation to where it's going to be suitable for the child to be at their best, because their parents are growing and giving their best as well. So that's only going to better the child, as they grow. So that's just my interpretation.
Right. I get it. I get it. We need to bring shaming back, man. I'm just playing.
Shame, that little guy that walked through the courtyard with the bell. Shame.
Right. Yeah, man.
Hey, some things, man, I agree, man. Shame needs to be one of those things that we definitely bring back. I think everybody just acts the way they act and just feel like, well, this is my truth. This is who I am. No, shame on you. There's no reason you should be treating that individual like that because you guys are not together. And someone needs to say it, but no one ever says it. Everybody just accepts things the way that they are and they say, okay, well, it is what it is. No, it is whatever you make it.
100%. And you know what's crazy about this is I've had conversations with a couple of my buddies, and like when stuff like this happens to the man, I don't know how all men take it, but when you're separated from your kid and you feel like in your mind you've tried to do your best to reach out, paying child support, which is another thing too, which I should be able to see my kid as often as we talked about in court, and that some of the things don't happen the way that in your mind you think they should happen. It's like something you have to lock away and like throw it in the depths of the ocean in a box, wrap it up, put chains on it because it's a sore spot. It's like a bed sore. You know what I mean? And you have to keep turning. You know, you have to keep turning around like so that bed sore can heal, and then it's like another one pops up. You know, somewhere, and then it. But then on the other end of that, and this is just my opinion, that I believe by the mom, you know, when the mom is with their children, that she is able to maybe communicate stuff and heal in a certain point. Once she's over the guy, she's able to heal, but the guy is left out there because he talks to his buddies and stuff like that, but it's something that I'll just say, in my opinion, that I had to put away because I didn't have anybody to fully talk to and heal from that stuff, because I wanted, you know, to communicate and have a relationship with my kids, you know, and that's just something that's just from my opinion. But we can move on, unless you have something else to say. But I just that's just something I just wanted to share because I feel like I believe that that's something that I had to do, is just like lock all this stuff, emotion as it relates to that. And when somebody would talk about it, it'd be like a sore point. You know, like, how your kids doing? I have no idea. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What am I gonna say? I mean, I did say I have no idea sometimes. You know what I mean? But then I have to go into a story. So I just start saying, you know, they doing good, you know, because I was hoping that they was doing good.
Right.
But in
Yeah.
some situations I had no idea that if they were doing good or not.
Yes, sir. I'm definitely with you on that. I've had to do that one as well. You know, I would say, shoot, I don't know, you know, or I guess they doing all right, you know.
Right.
So it's just unfortunate that you have to say that. And, you know, it is a sore point, you know, and, you know, unfortunately, children won't ever understand, you know, our part, you know, and they shouldn't, you know, from their perspective, they see it the way they see it based on their experience.
Right.
You know, so all you can hope for is moving forward, you know, the relationship is not strained in a way to where you guys can't have, you know, regular, you know, dealings with one another, you know. So, yeah. What we got
100%.
next?
Yeah, so we're gonna hop to the next one. We got Joe Budden podcast. They're talking about a topic that I thought was interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and run it. Actually,
in effect made by somebody. Orange, do you believe that there was a plan in effect made by somebody to take the black man out of black households?
I think there was a plan that resulted in that, and they knew that that was okay. In other words, the plan was to lock niggas up. Locking people up through mass incarceration, criminalizing all this stuff, crack, was going to lead to black men being out of the households. Do I think the end game of the people was to get black men out of the households? No, I think the end game was to make money off of black people's exploitation.
I think the plan was 100% to get the black man out the house.
Why?
Bro, you would
Once you
lose
look at-
welfare and shit if
Yeah.
there was a dude in the house.
At that point, the family structure was man over wife. Like, it was structured in that way where most black families lived and guided their families through that. Now, when you infiltrate and you add drugs to the situation, which you're now pushing to the black man, which is initially going to lead him to struggle and go through things. So that's a precise plan. But I think they had steps towards how we get to the point where
And there was never a time in history where the woman was out of the house. So, I mean, that's like a pointless thing to say. Do you believe that
Orange chicken is so good, you're gonna have to try it.
orange chicken is so good too, by the way. So yeah. What you think, man? Oh, you froze up on me because
Man, I saw that clip. I saw that clip, man. And I just thought to myself, it was just kind of like, the guy talking initially is kind of like you're saying the same thing, but you're saying it in a roundabout way.
you breaking up
So,
bad.
you know, you're saying that the outcome wasn't the initial reason why it was done, but the symptoms in terms of, you know, what came about because of what was done, you know, is not directly affected, if I'm not misunderstanding what he's trying to say. He's saying, well, you think it was a direct plan to get the man out of the house? And the guy said, no, I think it was to exploit the guy, the black man,
Right.
by incarcerating him and blah, blah, blah. Well, if you
Well,
incarcerate him, that you get him out the house, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's just kind of like, you know, it's kind of like saying, all right, do you think it was a plan for people to, be poisoned, mass poisoned by, serving everybody McDonald's and Burger King? No, I think it was a plan to exploit the neighborhoods and get them, on drugs because the food is bad. Well, it's the same thing. You're poisoning these people because the food is bad, not
Right.
just making money off of them because the food bad, because they're gonna eventually become sick because the food is bad. So you can't say one thing is two things can be true, or think two things at the same time can be true, if I
Right.
can say that. On the other hand, this could be the reason, and on the other hand, this can also be the reason. Just looking at what they were talking about. If you look at, back in the 60s or before the 60s, how the family unit was intact, and then you look after, the 60s and the 70s and get into the 80s, and, all the laws that were implemented, how they were implemented, and then all the drugs, how we came in. We've seen the movies, New Jack City, we've seen Menace to Society. We've
You owe
seen
me some
Boys
money,
in the,
mother.
huh?
You owe me some money, mother.
Right, exactly. We seen Boys in the Hood, We seen all these movies that were directly reflecting the environment that, on many occasions a lot of people were living, and they don't tell the story on how we got there, but we can understand, and there's what they call breadcrumbs, and there's signs, pointing to this is how it started and where it started. And doesn't really matter as that came along, with the situation, because it was started. Where you wanted to exploit the black man, by incarcerating them, or exploit them monetarily by incarcerating them or not. There's many different aspects to that. We can say redlining was part of that. We can say taking away black people's farms was part of that. We can say, taking away black towns and putting lakes over the top of them was part of that. Because now we have to move other places when we were independent, and now we have to be more dependent on a city that's already picked and been lived in, for some time by other people. Now it's going to create some issues because we got new people in. So in all, there's different scenarios you can look at that connect the dots, per se. We can go back and what they call do the science, We can, look to outcomes. We can look to systems. We can look to what we have as far as examples, and we can go back to see where it started and how it came about.
Yes, sir. We was breaking up pretty bad, man. You sound like Max Headroom for a minute.
Well, it's
Yeah,
part
you
of
sound like
part
Max.
of this experience. I was trying to be on the laptop, so
I understand.
I'm gonna have to gotta find my little mic I had too. It's in my backpack somewhere.
Oh, okay.
But
hopefully you find that, man.
yeah, it's in there
a
somewhere.
little pricey. I think that was a little pricey. Just playing.
Yeah, it's in there. I just got to take my whole phone off my case. My whole case off my phone to use it too. So.
Oh man, that's unfortunate, man.
But it's all good,
You can get a little adapter, the little extender or whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get one.
Yeah, man, but yeah, I agree on this point. Two things can be true. I believe it was a triple, actually a triple effect, like incarceration, drugs, also along with family court laws as well. Incentivizing women to not have men in the home so they could get money. And so the black family structure as we know, if we look at our grandparents, it was, mother, father, and kids, right? Like the dad was there. You did have some, Papa as a Rolling Stone everywhere he laid his hat was his home type guys, right? But for the most part, well, I know looking at my family, grandparents, specifically on both sides, like they were both in the home. The kids were there, and so, same thing, with my parents as well. I grew up with my parents in the home, and at some point things started to go awry, and I definitely agree with. I can't remember the young man's name, but I believe that you know there was a big incentive to not have black men in the home, and it destroyed our family structure. Now you have fathers not being there for their children. You have them not being trained up the right way. Then you have single parent families. You have daughters having babies at a young age and having to raise them on their own, and then them having babies, having to raise. That is just a ripple effect of things that happen that destroy that whole structure. Now it's like I know young people like to say now we're cooked. You know what I mean? Like things are ridiculous now. Like I went to lunch with my coworkers today, and we were exchanging stories. And actually, it's not just us, but like the women is just so easy. Like you could say, "Oh, hey, have you done this before?" No. I mean, yeah, I have. Would you do it with me? Yes. Like that easy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. Like we don't have any morals anymore. And I know we may have had this conversation before. I'm not saying that for sure. We could have. Maybe we did. I don't think we did because we too yeah, we didn't we may not have had this conversation. Maybe I was just dreaming.
I don't think so. I don't think I got that conversation. I would have been like, huh?
If I was what I was gonna say,
Where?
if I was in high school, around these times, it'd be all bad. Yeah, it'd be all bad. Yeah, because I don't know how the men of today deal with the younger women of today. Like even the women my age. It's ridiculous. Like you see a lot of women, our age not married, and I'm not married either, so I can't really say much. But I'm nervous to get married. I mean, not necessarily get married, but to get divorced. You know what I'm saying? If you have a lot of money and somebody take half, it's bad, right? But then we ain't got a whole lot and they take half, it's even worse.
So I get a prenup. We ain't gotta deal with that.
Yeah.
Get a prenup, or you put everything in trust, and that way you can't take nothing from me because I don't have anything.
Assets, right?
Trust owns everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't trust you, so I'm gonna put it in the trust.
There you go. I don't trust you. I don't trust myself. So I'm gonna put it in the trust.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. That's something we could talk about because I didn't know. I didn't think about that. Actually, my man, the guy that plays soccer, right? One of the guys that plays soccer, and then I think one other guy was UFC dude.
Yeah, everything was in his mom's name.
Yeah. And she came after him, and then she ended up having to pay alimony.
Right. Because I don't have nothing. Yeah.
I don't have nothing.
Yeah.
You was a breadwinner.
Right. You the breadwinner. I don't have nothing.
Nothing.
That's the game.
Man.
Yeah, learn how to play it. High level.
Lil Ian, we already got you set up, man.
Man.
Make sure you're already good.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we can hop to the next subject, man. We don't want to beat a dead horse as it relates to that.
Yeah, man, because you on time schedule.
Oh man, here you go. All right. I am on time schedule.
Yeah.
Let's see. Are they giving an announcement right now? 15 minutes. You gotta get up out. 30 minutes. You gotta get up out of here.
Just like if he was in Target. All right, get your stuff. Get to the aisles.
Hey man, we don't shop at Target, man.
Who don't shop at Target? Stop it. I was just there.
I was just there too. And I know we wasn't supposed to order from Amazon either, but
Man, I'm about to order as soon as we get off of here.
well, that was last week or the week before. I think I ordered some batteries. I didn't even really need any batteries. I just wanted to order something from Amazon.
Yeah.
And then I ordered a portable charger for my Xbox controller too. So I can snap it in there. You know, I think it's not called a portable charger. I forgot the exact name. But anyway, I just wanted to order from Amazon last week. I just felt in the appeal to order from it. So anyway,
empowered, huh? You was empowered, huh?
I was empowered, man. I was just bored actually. I sitting there, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be a risk taker.
There you go.
You know, I know nobody's ordering from Amazon right now, but you know what? I'm gonna see what happens if I do. And nothing happened. I got my order on time. Actually, I got my order a lot quicker than I thought. So I thought I would get it because nobody else is ordering.
It was like, man, I hope he didn't make a mistake. Hurry up and get it to him so he don't cancel it.
Hey, I got it the next day. Get it in there.
Exactly. They sent it by drone. Got there quick.
Hey man, I appreciate you, Jeff. But we're gonna hop on here. Jesse Lee Peterson was on the Hodge Twins. Hopefully we don't get dinged for this, but I'm gonna go ahead and share it. Let's see what they got to say. Amazing.
Peterson in the house.
Amazing. Y'all like white people?
I like the conservative white people.
Oh, you do? Not the liberal.
Yeah, the liberal white people is just as bad as the blacks.
What's wrong with the blacks? Black people think that white people are smarter than them. It wasn't that way when I was growing up. I grew up in Alabama.
Hold on, man.
To the blacks. Because when I was growing up,
Jesse Lee Peterson in the house.
Amazing. Y'all like white people?
I like the conservative white people.
Oh, you do? Not the liberal.
Yeah, the liberal white people is just as bad as the blacks.
What's wrong with the blacks? Black people think that white people are smarter than them. It wasn't that way when I was growing up. I grew up in Alabama on a plantation under the Jim Crow law. And black people used to be independent thinkers. They didn't have black leaders. They thought it did for themselves.
Right.
They bought land and just kind of did their own thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the civil rights movement came along, which was the worst thing that ever happened to the blacks. Because when I was growing up, most black people were Republicans. At 18, I started listening to Jesse Jackson, Louis Farrakhan, and all the crazy people. And they were telling me, the white man is against you because of your color. I fell for the lie. White people are afraid of the blacks.
You know what, Jesse? I'm scared of black folks.
Me too. All the women are evil. Did y'all know that?
I was married to a black woman. She used to beat his ass too.
Beta. What now? Did you know human beings are evil?
Oh yeah.
It's worse than what you can think. All the way you're gonna be good is that you got to admit that you're evil.
Amazing. Hey, Jesse Lee is hilarious.
Definitely.
Beta.
Yeah, he's definitely hilarious for sure.
Man, so you tell me there was a time when black people were free thinkers?
I think that's what he said. Yeah.
He did say that. Yeah. Where we didn't listen to just what everybody else said or thought, but we thought on our own. Interesting.
That is interesting.
So what happened today, man? Like why are we such a sheep culture? I mean, I'm sure people follow people in certain aspects, but
are you saying we're not doing that today? Is that what you're saying?
Man, far and few in between.
Not even the black leaders? Black leaders, they don't have their own mindset? They're not telling us how to be free thinkers.
Nah, man, they want us to join the plantation. They want us to stay on the plantation.
Mm.
So because I wanted to separate myself, and I didn't want to vote for the person that everybody else black was voting for. I think it was like 93% women and like 80-something% men. I would be the person that they would, talk about, and they would say I'm a C word.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I just believe that we should be able to make our own choices, make our own decisions, and be able to think freely and not just do something because somebody else, told us to. I don't want to go too in depth, but I'll let you share, and then I'll share the latter part because I have more of what I wanted to talk about, kind of on the latter part that was said.
So, do you think it was the plan to get black people more under control by having them manipulated mentally, spiritually, physically, by engaging in movements such as civil rights, and other movements around that time, where they were free thinkers, they had their own businesses, towns, hospitals, bus lines. Who told them that it was better to integrate with other people, especially in places that they weren't wanted? Like who said that was a good idea? How did it get to a point to where people came here, they saw people were here, they made nice, and then they separated, and then it was some issues, they wanted more, then they separated, and then there was some issues, and they said, well, let's come together and stop the violence and just all live together. So from that, now we got the Jasmine Crockett's, we got our Jesse Jackins, we got the Al Sharptons,
Lord.
we have all these liberal black people, and then there are some conservatives, that we look at and we see, and they all sound the same.
Right.
They never talk of thinking for yourself and researching and understanding, what your capabilities are, learning, laws, learning, more important things. It's always a talking point and a message that, they want you to focus on, because if you're focused on that, then you're focused on not thinking for yourself.
Right.
So nowadays people are so downtrodden and lazy because they've been allowing that to happen for too long. So now it's like when you see somebody up there like a Kamala or a Jasmine Crockett, I say these people because these are the most recent popular people. It's like they're not even saying anything of substance.
Nothing.
They're spewing a lot of talking points, and that's like, if you're an intelligent person and you sit there and you listen to them, you would ask yourself, like, what are they talking about?
Right.
Like they're talking, but they're not saying anything. Like they're not giving me anything to think about. It's pretty cut and dry on what they're talking about, and it's dry because they're not saying anything.
And they love to avoid the questions that are being asked.
You avoid the questions, and then you talk about what someone else is not doing, and then you shame, somebody, and then you degrade their character, and it's like, that's not how we act as a people. It shouldn't be, So that's why I was like, for a long time, I didn't understand politics because I just didn't watch it because it didn't interest me. But as I got older, started to vote here and there. I think the last time I voted, I voted when Obama's first term.
Okay.
That's the last time I voted because it was like after that, it was like I wasn't interested in the whole political process because I saw it for what it was,
Right.
a waste of time. Because they're not really listening to the people. They're pacifying the people by just giving them rhetoric, speak, and talk. And a lot of times people accept it because, whoever's running or whoever's saying it, they like them. So they're going to go by that. And, I had this conversation with my mom. She told me who she voted for. And I was just thinking to myself, that's the reason why we're in this situation that we are, because people vote for people based on how they look, who they are, who they say they are, and they don't look at what they say, what they do, and judge them by that. Don't judge me by what I say. Judge me by what I do,
Right.
based on what I said. So if I said this and I do something else, or if I said this and I hang with these people and they do other things, just know I'm going to be doing what they do because that's the crowd I run with.
Right.
You
Yeah, and I agree, man. It's you have to be mindful of that and not vote for people because of what they look like. And I agree. Like sometimes it takes an awakening, right? Sometimes it takes a I don't say opportunity, but you want to take a step back, right? And look at your situation, look at what's going on around you, and find out what the root cause of things are. And then when you do that, then you can look and see, okay, I have this person, I have that person, which one aligns more that could help resolve the root cause of the issues that are going on that would affect me and my family. And then you have to have foresight too, like which things would affect change in those areas that will help, if you have children, that will help my children. I don't want to say like my mom's vote, can necessarily be a waste, or, people that vote that way who are a lot older, or vote a certain way who are a lot older, is a waste. But it is kind of a waste because you have this affects the future generations, like my son, my daughters, and things like that. So them voting a certain way could have adverse effects to the future. But voting for a person who aligns with not only you but also with a better future for your family, then it just makes sense to me. And then you have some people who are ignorant, like I was ignorant. Like I said, when I voted the first, I voted for Obama twice. Actually, three terms. I voted for Obama twice, and then I voted for Joe Biden. I kind of said this on the last time. I had Donald Trump blocked because I was annoyed, and I was on the plantation. I was annoyed by what he was talking about, how he was tweeting stuff. I was like, man, would you just shut up and be the president? But I was, like I said, not thinking for myself. But then when you take a step back and take a look at what they're saying, and kind of like what you said, they're just spitting out rhetoric. And as I said, they don't answer questions. Somebody asks them a question. So what do you think about this policy? Well, what I like to say is that, this person is spitting rhetoric out, and they want to get rid of healthcare, and they want to get rid of this, and they want to get rid of that. Like, I didn't ask you that. I asked you about this particular policy. Why can't you answer the question? You could actually answer the question and then explain to me why, you said what you said, but you don't ever answer the question. So it's unfortunate, that, we have people that do that and pull the wool over our eyes because they know we're not going to do the research. I know Google is not a end all be all, but it's a good start if you want to know something. People Google shit all the time. They Google restaurants, they Google, Urban Dictionary terms. Like people Google dumb stuff all the time. They use Chat GBT for stuff all the time. Like, why can't you Google that, right? Why can't you Google policies? Why can't you Google, the Constitution? Why can't you Google, other things that will benefit you, right? People do all the time. Like I said, and then you can say, okay, this says this. Like, what resources can I look at to deep dive into that, right? But we don't do that. We just listen to what people say, and then kind of like my mom does. Hey, I heard that Trump is gonna get rid of this. I heard he gonna get rid of that. And then my something that we probably talk about at some point. We kind of want to talk about today, but I am on a time crunch. Is my daughter was like, you heard Trump is gonna get rid of segregation, or he's what Trump said about segregation. And I'm like, oh Lord. And I'm gonna call her after we get off this. But yeah, so you gotta be informed. If you don't know something, you gotta take a look and try to figure it out. But anyway, I spoke quite a lot. I did want to kind of address, what he said of this interview. Jesse Lee Peterson said, the black leaders, the black people used to be Republicans, a while ago. And that's something that we don't know either. You ask the average person, did they know that? And they'll say no. The Democratic side was a side that had, a lot of the slaves and stuff like that. I had it's funny, and I obviously know what side he is, but I have a former classmate. If I post something, I could post anything else. I could post my kids. I could post basketball. I could post a workout. I could post me traveling somewhere. He will not respond. But if I post something about politics or something like that, he jumping in. I'm like, bro, do not, please don't. And then he kind of caught me at a time where I didn't have opportunity to really respond, to him. So I sent him a message, but the message wasn't in depth. So I probably shouldn't have sent it at all. But, we were we talked about the conversation about, Democrats and Republicans and, who had, who was what, like what party, was the Black Party a part of initially. So I do want to message him back, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I don't know, Cuzzo, you have anything else, man, before we hop off of here? You muted, so you muted, sir. Muted, sir.
Yeah, my bad. He said, yeah, I'm gonna let you go. I don't want you to spend the night there over the weekend. I know you gotta go.
Nah, you good. Go ahead. Say what you gotta say if you need to. I got a few minutes.
No, I mean just to kind of end on what you said. I mean that's just people in general. I mean at the end of the day, most time people don't have anything going on really in their lives. 9 times out of 10 they don't. So they live for drama. They live for disagreements. And one of my favorite things, man, it might not be cool to say this, but one of my favorite things is to do, man, is on Instagram when people have negative comments, I'm right back at them, with not even negative comment, but it's just logical. It's like, I hear what you're saying, but this is what I said and that's what it is. So you can have your perspective and I have mine. I think my most recent comment that I posted on was, I guess the guy and his daughter that got murdered at the gas station in Houston, and a guy said something about, well, yeah, I think it was a little Boosie saying, man, the kids is off limits. The kids is off limits. And then some guy said something about, yeah, but um, something about ops and everything. And I said, well, everybody, we off limits, period. We the same people, so we off limits, period. And somebody had the nerve to comment under that and said, nah, he said what he said, and I said what I said. So what that mean? You can have your own perspective just as I do. So if you feel the way you feel, then that's on you. But the reason why we're in the situations that we are is because we have the wrong mindset. And especially when it comes to us, it should be about self-preservation. It should be about you preserving your people, and that's what should be on your mind. So yeah, man, it's just like one big I don't want to say nightmare, but it's just like it's a game. I really don't see how people don't fully understand what's going on or what they're in, but I can kind of get it. It starts from young kids. If you're not taught certain things, if you're not given certain tools and ways of thinking and looking at information, then you just won't have it. So it's unfortunate that as you move forward, that's just going to be a lot of people's lives because they were not given it. It can be our parents, it could be our grandparents, it could be some of our children, our cousins, our aunties, our uncles. You try to have a conversation and you come from a different angle, you have a different thought process. It's not going to kind of coincide with one another because they think totally different. And that's fine. No one ever says, what, that's an interesting perspective. I don't agree with that, but I'll take that in consideration because it does sound interesting. You never really hear anybody that or care about respond that way. It's in a totally different way. And my consort usually says to me, well, you can't control how I talk or think or say. Why are you always trying to control? I'm not trying to control. I'm just trying to reset on some of the ways that you speak and think on certain things. And it's not even to control you. It's just to maybe inspire you or influence you to think about certain things a different way and kind of look at it from another perspective. If you can learn how to analyze information or analyze someone as an individual, and kind of focus on what they're saying, how they're saying it, you can kind of cut through everything that they're talking about, and you can pick right up on it like instantly. Like, yeah, they playing games. They not really trying to, get to the heart of the matter. They're not trying to really help anyone with this. They're just out here for themselves because they're just speaking from a half-hearted place and they got a lot of double speak going on. So yeah, man. But anyway, man, I'll leave.
Right?
Say again.
Interrupt their consciousness, and because the way that they think, it's probably been a way that they've been thinking for a while, and so you want people to think differently sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just like looking at it from like, what, that's just their capacity and their way of thinking. And, I've had to come to that realization, for a few things, just understanding and looking at it. It's like, okay, well, that's just their capacity for understanding. And if they don't understand it the way that I understand it, it's not that's a bad thing, it's just the way that it is,
Right.
Or that's just the way that they are, so
right. And I think a good thing though is to keep addressing those instances because sometimes you have people in your circle who agree with you, agree with everything you do and say, and it may not necessarily be good. Like I went and got my haircut yesterday, so I was at the shop, right? And there'd be stuff going on over there all the time, and so some girl ran out the shop and was like, "Oh, she about to go beat this girl." I'm like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to involve myself in that malarkey, but it's like a regular behavior. You know what I mean? Nobody has probably said, "Hey, you need to chill out." you know what I'm saying, because this and this is gonna happen, you know, or you need to chill out because I care about you. I don't want to see you hurt. You know, sometimes we need to, you know, disrupt people's consciousness and step in on behaviors that continue to happen if we choose to, you know. You know, and I know people get mad at me because I correct them. You know, sometimes it's not to correct them to make it seem as if I know more than they do. But if somebody's having a conversation with you, you know, I want you to sound like you know what you're talking about. You know, I don't want you to you know, speak on a word or something like that. You might be in a business meeting or something. You say some crazy ish, and they like, what the hell is she talking about? They may not say that to you outright, but they may say it to you. I mean, they may take a mental note, you know, and it may affect your job. You never know, or a job you're going to get. So, with that being said, man, I'm sorry to cut you off. I appreciate you. I got 5 minutes to get up out of here. And they turned off the lights on me. Dang, where Teddy P at, man? Hey, turn on.
Right. Yeah.
Man, they ain't
Play
even light
Chick
a
Hearns
candle
right
for me.
now. The eggs are
They-
cold. The jello's jiggling. Yeah.
The butter's getting cold. The butter's getting hard. Yeah, there you go.
The
Yeah,
butter's
man.
getting hard.
Yeah, cuz it was another great time, man. We definitely some things that we want to talk about. We want to talk about Big U. You know, we'll address that and some other things. I'm sure some other stuff will pop up in between now and next time. But I appreciate you. Everybody out there, we appreciate you as well for watching the content. We are working on getting better and better each time. But as I say, we two regular dudes, man. You know, speaking on from our perspective. And man, if you enjoy the content, like, comment, subscribe, share, all of that. Please do. All of them. Yeah, 4, 5, 6. All right, cuzzo. I'll see you next time, man.
Later.